Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, the most trusted name in local news. My name is Alex, and joining us, as always, via Skype, is Rob. How you doing there, Rob?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Bit sweaty, but okay.
Well, yes, this is episode 283 now, and we are recording for the fastidious amongst you on the 30th of July, and it is still very humid, very hot, and to be honest, mate, I'm a bit sick of it. I just want to break from it all, to be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just to clarify, Alex, that is actually, it's episode 282, not 283.
Oh, is it? 282?
Yeah,
I apologise.
No, I know what you mean. It's been so changeable recently, and we've had a bit of a gap in recording. And now that the UK officially has the highest recorded temperature as of last week of 38.7 in Cambridge. And now it's just wet and miserable and humid.
Saudi Arabian temperature that was, Rob, that day. Can I just say that we were meant to record on that day, and I'm pleased that for whatever reason we couldn't do it, because the amount of sweat that was dripping off me would have really interfered with the technical equipment which we used to record this podcast. Water and electronics, Rob, don't mix.
No, I think that's fair, Alex. I think it would have been horrendous, especially because obviously when we do this, we don't have the windows open, we don't have the fans on because of the mics would pick them up because they're so sensitive. So we would just been sitting here basting ourselves. So
right, yeah. That's not a euphemism, is it?
No. Just with sweat, nothing else.
Okay. Rob, have you got any news? Because I've got a lot of content to cover this week, so I kind of want to get on with it. But have you got any news?
Just a few bits, if that's okay. Listeners may remember that towards the end of last episode, Alex mentioned a story about a gimp that had been jumping out on local villagers.
No, not a man dressed as a gimp.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
in a gimp outfit.
I mean, he could have been a gimp. Let's be honest.
What, yeah, but I don't know exactly what a gimp is. If it's not a species all of its own. He was wearing a gimp mask.
I mean, I can tell you what a gimp is, but now's probably not the right formula for that. Anyway, so just to say that Kyber also submitted that story, but obviously you felt that the content wasn't suitable for the podcast.
No.
So just acknowledge that. Also, can I just say to the listeners, please stop submitting stories from the Rochdale Herald. I now know it is a fictional paper, but I realised that the quality of the stories, albeit fake news, are very good, but please stop submitting them.
Have people been taking a piss out of you, Rob?
No comment.
I imagine you keep getting these stories sent to you and you're like, oh my God, that's gold! And then you realise.
Yeah, like it's the mermaid story all over again. Anyway, also just to say to Helen, thank you for sending in the follow-up story to the Russian propaganda pro-Brexit letter that was being submitted to numerous local papers, and the follow-up story, which again is a great piece of investigative journalism from the Bristol Post.
Probably a bit dry for us to go into on this podcast, isn't it? But we do recommend that people look at it. I mean, do you want to tell people what it is, where they can find it?
Yeah, so if you go to the Bristol Post and if you just type in how we were targeted by suspected pro-Russian troll farms, so the idea, well, not the idea, but they went in, after they released their story about the suspected letters, they were bombarded with comments, very critical comments of the journalist, and they did some further research, and they found that of the 160
bombarded by critical comments from commenters.
Yeah, from commenters, sorry. Yeah. They found that of the 160 plus comments, 95 were from the same IP address. So I would encourage listeners. I mean, I have to say, this is local. Yeah. As local news goes, it was top draw. So,
so come
that's
on,
not a criticism.
We're always having a go at local journalism. Let's give the Bristol Post a round of applause for actually doing some proper investigative journalism. Other news,
encourage? No, just that. I don't think there's anything else. I went to Norfolk. If anyone's interested,
not about your personal life. This isn't your real life sort of, I don't know, podcast version of your Twitter account.
Right.
We're not interested, Rob. When you last went for a dump. Now listen.
Okay.
This week is going to be a mixture of listener stories and stories we've sourced ourselves, because we are just getting inundated with fantastic listener stories, aren't we, Rob? I mean, we're so thankful to our listeners, what they have been finding. And let's start with Amy, who has Amy has been incredible recently in the amount of stories she has been submitting.
Yeah, I agree.
This one is from the Devon Live. This is a classic, really, whichever way you look at it. It's by Richard Booth, who is just called editor, so he must be the editor of the Devon Live, from the 21st of July 2019. Desperate search for missing Chihuahua dog that was swooped up and carried away by seagull in Devon Garden.
Wow.
This is incredible.
This is escalated.
Yeah, a distraught dog owner has issued an urgent appeal to find her miniature chihuahua after it was snatched, Rob, by a seagull from her garden. The 4-year-old dog called Gizmo was in the garden of Becca Hill's house in Paynton when a seagull swooped down and flew away with the small pup in its beak. The shocking incident was witnessed by Becca's partner on Sunday afternoon. The brown and white male dog is still missing, and Becca, 24, is hoping the power of social media and the press will help reunite her back with her dog. She says, so this is her account, my partner was in the garden putting the washing out at the time, and suddenly he saw it swoop down. It carried Gizmo a fair way as we couldn't see him anymore. I have no idea if he was dropped or where he is now. Now, Rob, I want to say a couple of things before I continue with this story. Number one, her dog ain't coming back.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the first thing. Your dog's dead.
Yep.
The second thing is, this whole story... I don't know if you've observed this so far. You normally are quick to notice these things. This whole story this whole account was not witnessed by her. It is based on her partner telling her this is what happened.
Do you know what? I generally hadn't clocked that. You're absolutely right.
Right. He says he was in the... So basically, she comes home. Where's Gizmo? He got stolen by a seagull. I was in the garden putting the washing out, and suddenly a seagull swooped down. It took Gizmo and took him away. Now, Rob, something may have happened between him and Gizmo. It's a very small dog. He could have sat on it. He could have trodden it. He could have got annoyed and thrown it against the wall. And sorry,
all these things are true, Alex. I have to say this is very, very feasible.
Or it could be the classic case of a Chihuahua sex game gone wrong.
God, do you know? I really had to. Listeners, there was nothing edited out there, but I was about to say something that I had to self censor. Well,
just imagine, Rob, him trying to insert himself into this Chihuahua, and it's only a small Chihuahua. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Now, what I was about to say is he burst it.
Right. Yeah. So he has to come up with an answer, about what happened to the Chihuahua, and of course there are really no. I mean, it is a bloody good lie if it is a lie.
But the fact that she's obviously swallowed this hook, line and sinker.
Not a euphemism.
No.
Let's continue the story. I mean, anyway, we're mucking around, of course, but Becca, who owns 3 Chihuahuas in total, so she won't really miss Gizmo that much.
Yeah, she's got enough. That's fine.
Added that she has heard of this happening, but has never heard of it happen to her. There are several recorded incidents of birds attacking small dogs, Rob. In May 2015, another Devon pet owner watched in horror as her beloved Chihuahua puppy was killed by a flock of seagulls. I didn't know seagulls were this vicious.
No, sorry, how were they? What were they doing?
Pecked it to death, probably.
Yeah, but she said there's a lot of stories of this, or a lot of incidences of this occurring, but not a seagull swooping down and just picking the dog off.
No, but just general hostility, Rob, and aggression towards seagulls. Nikki Wayne, 57, found the birds pecking tiny Bella to death after the pup pushed open a door and got out. Tragedy struck when her owner was in the shower and Bella managed to nudge open a slightly ajar door and was killed by the birds. Mum of 5, Nikki from Hoynton, said she will never forget the incident and issued warnings to other residents to remain vigilant to prevent another attack. She said she first noticed the seagulls perched on the roof peering into the garden at the tiny dog and decided to seek advice. Anyway, back to Gizmo, Rob. Still missing. Several people are helping with the search. Call it off. Gizmo's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's going to be anywhere, he's been dropped in the ocean or eaten.
I would suggest that maybe his lifeless corpse be found on some sort of council dump, something like that.
Right. JL2 says, cull these vermin. They're noisy, 100 squawking in early hours and think they own the world. I'm sure.
And seagulls as well.
Yeah. Air Stavros says, there is too much sentimentality over animals. Those who keep dogs and cats are also content to eat pigs, lambs, chickens, turkeys and cattle. Presumably not all at once. That's quite a meat feast.
Well...
That's what you get on your dish at Toby Carvery, I believe. Yeah. All animals are cute to humans when they are small, but animals are opportunists, and their instinct is survival. A seagull doesn't care if a chihuahua is someone's pet, and an out-of-control Alsatian doesn't care if it kills your baby daughter. All right, mate, keep it light. This is the comment section of a local newspaper. They have no sense, Rob, of death. Sheep will happily graze around a lamb savaged and killed by a fox, which has also killed a dozen chickens and a cat. Yet it will die itself being mauled by hunting dogs. It's just nature. Don't cry for animals, because they're not worried about us. Why should they be? Now, Rob, does that win our award for most bleak comment of all of local anaesthetic history?
Without a doubt. Also, I mean,
bleak but accurate, actually.
Yeah, well, to an extent, but that reads as if a psychopath has written it.
Nelson5 says, it was Putin. Interesting.
Possible.
Sarah Mary simply says, this comment is awaiting moderation, which I assume means there was something wrong with the comment.
Yep.
Your nemesis says, you lot must be monsters making jokes of this story, which would include us, Rob.
Yeah.
For most of us, humans are our pets. They are our family. A gull attacked one of my cats last week. We have it on our security camera for the non-believers. And as for the story not being newsworthy, I think it's important to know what threats visit their gardens. I'm surprised, however, that Devon Live have allowed you all to mock. Have a word with yourselves. All of you.
Is there a possibility that this gull, in the throes of grief after losing its chick, has decided to steal this chihuahua and raise it as its kin, basically?
Quite possibly, Rob. Okay, Rob, this is a story I found myself from the Liverpool Echo, and I would like to apologise again for any derogatory comments I've made about Liverpool in the past. They were not meant. They were meant for... I sound like Boris Johnson, really, don't I, Rob?
Yeah, and the trouble is they were meant. That's the problem.
No, they weren't meant at all. But I am aware that my record in talking about places outside of London is very similar to Boris Johnson's.
Oh yeah, but everyone knows you're part of the left-wing liberal elite, so it's fine.
Also, Boris and I share the same name, the same first name, Alexander.
I did not know that.
Yeah, his name is Alexander. He was called Alexander for some time. He chose when he went to Eton to start calling himself Boris.
What a cunt.
Which is his middle name. All right, okay, Liverpool Echo. I know, Rob, that you love, and I mean really love, because obviously you're a big believer in superstition, you love a good ghost story.
Of course, and I have to say there might be some coming up, not this episode, but in the weeks to come.
Well, I hope you don't have this one. This is by Lorna Hughes and Sarah Hodgson. It was such a critical story, they needed two journalists to cover it. And the headline is, Meet the Haunted Doll That Wants to Burn Your Eyes Out.
Oh. Wow, again, that escalated quickly.
Terrified paranormal investigators claim they heard a haunted doll telling them, I want to burn your eyes out. The moment, Rob, was captured on camera by Danny Moss of Pick TV's Paranormal Captured, and the innocent-looking figure has since been branded the most haunted item in the UK. Can I just say, Rob, that a man working on a show like this, Danny Moss is the just perfectly fitting name for this kind of person.
Yeah, it does. I don't know why it conjures images of a very
low budget,
mediocre type guy who may have worked in some sort of convenience store in the past.
There's the episode title: low budget, mediocre kind of guy who may have worked at some kind of convenience store in the past. Brilliant, Rob.
And at some stage in his life, when he realised he had nothing left, decided to start investigating the paranormal.
Can I just say, do you want to go on record and say that there's nothing wrong with working in a convenience store? I went on record last week, and talked about my admiration for postal workers, and just nearly alongside them, I placed my admiration for people who work in convenience stores also, Rob. Something you don't know about me, Rob, is when I was growing up as sort of late childhood, sort of like 10, 11, I really had an ambition to be a newsagent. I thought it looked like a fantastic job. Whenever I went to the newsagents, I thought, wow, just because they'd have like a TV in the corner, they had chocolate bars all around them, they had fizzy drinks all around them, and they'd just chat to people and stand at that lovely counter. When there was that episode of Bottom where Richie and Eddie asked if they could look after the shop, I completely understood that kind of fantasy. Like, yeah, it's like this would be your parlour, wouldn't it? Your newsagent.
Yes, but I think you've overlooked one thing. Any sort of conversation with any of the newsagent staff, you realise how bleak their existence is.
Well, maybe, Rob, but I still may or may not become a newsagent. Right.
Good to know.
The video, Rob, shows Mr. Moss holding a crucifix up to the doll before asking her, "What do you want to burn?" So that's a leading question, if ever there was one. Can I just ask,
am I hearing this video?
No.
Oh.
The video shows Mr. Moss holding a crucifix. I just want to point out this is an incredibly leading question. What do you want to burn? Chillingly, the doll replies, "Your eyes." So the doll did not actually say, "No, I want to burn your eyes out."
So, I mean, let's be honest, Alex. The doll didn't say fuck all.
Well, it was captured, Rob, on an S-Box, which is the cheaper version of the Xbox.
Straight out of Korea.
Yeah. North Korea. Which scans white noise while blocking out any radio interference. So you know what this is going to be, Rob. It's just going to be silent. It's going to be picking up some noise that sounds a bit like your eyes.
Alex, it'll be fucking static is what it's going to be. Which someone's went, "Ooh, that sounds like your eyes."
No, Rob. Investigators believe the spirit of a witch from the 1600s attached itself to the dog. Sorry. No, Rob. Investigators believe the spirit of a witch from the 1600s attached itself to the doll during a ghost hunt at Nantclyde Wydri in Ruthin, North Wales. I don't know on what basis they've come up with that theory, Rob. It's very specific, but that's what's happened here.
Alex, I cannot believe for 1 minute that paranormal investigators would just come up with these fanciful claims with no prior research.
Rob, the doll is now kept in a glass box because...
Why?
I'll tell you why, because they're unsure what supernatural powers it may have.
Yeah, no,
and presumably a glass box will contain those supernatural powers. Wait, could anything more flimsy? I understand them putting it in a lead sort of casket, but a glass box, surely if it's got any supernatural powers worth anything, it will be able to smash that glass, Rob.
Absolutely, and also, let's be fair, the doll can make these threats, but I mean, I would like to see a doll who could carry them through.
Another
and if
video,
it had that much intent.
Rob, you doubting Thomas, listen. Another video recorded on a camera left in an unattended room picked up a knocking noise, Rob, and the same voice saying, "Release."
Right.
Mr. Moss said hearing it say it wanted to burn my eyes was terrifying at the time, and to have members of the public along with us who witnessed it was just crazy. What is also significant, he says, is that a few years ago we captured a voice saying something along the lines of "reap your eyes," and a number of people have had the sensation of their eyes burning, but we never thought much of it until this incident.
No, that's a perfectly normal occurrence.
We believe this doll, he says, gained its attachment in Ruthin, and over the last few months we have recorded some good evidence, including knocking sounds and the same voice several times, which has been captured and heard in real time. We've heard knocking sounds and a voice saying "release me." No, it didn't, it said "release," which was captured on the box, and the camera shows nobody else was in the room. It's interesting, as it always knocks 3 times whenever we take the doll, and it's always the same voice. Mr. Moss has compared the Grace doll to the famous Annabelle doll, which has been the subject of a series of horror films.
Hang on, does the Annabelle doll actually exist? I just assumed it was a
I don't
work
know,
of
Rob.
fiction.
He just says, without doubt, this is the most haunted item in the UK. That's not an empirical statement, is it?
No, and there's no way you can physically prove that. Although, one on... Do you know what, Alex? What I'd like to see is on camera a lit match floating past his head and then being jabbed into his eyes.
Well, he says, Robert,
then exactly. I believe.
He says we keep it in a box, as it's really unknown what the energy attached to the doll can do. We've had the room erupt in screams of terror before, and we've had lots of sceptical people admit they just can't explain it.
Sorry, whoa, hang on. They had the room erupt into screams of terror?
Yeah, from the people who've witnessed this, Rob.
Witness what?
The doll's saying it's going to burn people's eyes out, Rob. It
hasn't said that. It just says your eyes.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe he was
warning
making
somebody they've got cataracts.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he was coming on to them.
Yeah,
your eyes are beautiful. I want to burn them.
Well, my opinion only says, "Holy Mary, Mother of God, how the hell is this news?" Righteous indignation nice. Says as the Liverpool Echo, "Surely this is low as this rag can go." Neo Geo says, "Wants to burn your eyes out. Sounds like my missus."
You need to end that relationship.
Steve LPL leaves a very interesting comment, Rob, all in caps. I'd like you to decipher this for me. It says, only way to do this, why have the Manchester Echo not been reporting or even mentioning the World Netball Finals in the city? Is it because it is now the M&S Arena? Disgrace. And those who are supposed to follow bigotry in the city, in brackets Joe Anderson, wake up!
I'm not sure I can, Alex. What a bizarre comment.
I think, yeah, I mean...
Can I also
for a resident of Liverpool, that's fairly coherent.
Can I just make one... that feels unnecessary. If they're really concerned that this doll poses some sort of threat, why don't they introduce said doll to a hammer?
Yeah.
Let's see how well she fares against.
Can you imagine him on the programme, Rob, beating up this doll?
I'd love
ripping
to
its
see.
head off.
Oh, Alex, the sight of a grown man just, unleashing rage onto a porcelain doll with a claw hammer. Beautiful. Absolutely.
That's also a very
beautiful.
good episode title.
What, a grown man unleashing rage onto a porcelain doll?
The sight of a grown man unleashing unbridled rage onto a porcelain doll. It would be very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob, have you got a story for us there?
Yeah, so this week we are going to the Far East, Alex. We are going to the Tokyo Reporter.
What is it? Hang on. Tokyo Reporter.
I mean, I just did it then, but, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
no,
but I think you missed the you got to have the...
I did. I did the bullet sounds. I didn't do the shotgun, which does sound better in hindsight.
Anyway,
yeah. So this
I love
it was
the
submitted
Tokyo
by,
Reporter.
It is one of the best papers we cover. I feel
they used to say that they specialised, didn't they, in salacious news. I don't think that's their strapline anymore.
No, it's now news on crime, politics, business from Japan.
It really wouldn't surprise me if that paper was owned by Paul Dacre.
No, I can believe that. I always wonder whether... I don't know why there's... Because some of the stories were reported, I always wonder whether it's fake news, but I don't think it is, because there's some really gruesome stories on here.
No, those stories have never come across as fake at all. I think it is... there's a lot that goes on in Japan, Rob. They've got a big population like us. We're very similar to Japan. We're both small island nations with big populations. Yeah, and we're also, pretty much on the decline, really.
Yeah, also true. I would like to go to Japan. It seems like a beautiful country.
So
anyway, yeah, it's also held this weird fascination for me. I don't know why. I've been fascinated by their culture, but yeah.
One of the really interesting things about Japan, can I just say, is how it is saturated by sexualized imagery, and often imagery, and the imagery around women is very much like of the Lolita type variety.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
very disturbing. But people are not having sex in Japan in record numbers.
Is that true?
Yeah, there is hardly any sex going on in that country. I mean, it is quite remarkable. And literally to shocking levels. And obviously there's a lot going on, and so their fertility rate is nosediving.
Wow. I mean, if they want some... I think there's a lot of people in Birmingham that we could get rid of, if that helps.
Sorry, you said sorry. That what are you saying? We ship people from Birmingham to Japan?
Well, not free of charge. Obviously, there would be a cost involved.
Rob, what you're just talking... I just want to say that this is going into dark territory, because what you're really describing there is some kind of genocide.
No, I'm not saying they kill them. I'm saying that they would pay people to emigrate from...
Like what happened with Australia originally.
Exactly, Alex. I'm saying that we're experiencing a population surge, and I'm sure people in Birmingham would jump at the chance to move to Tokyo, for instance.
And what do we do with Birmingham? We dump all the haunted dolls there.
Absolutely, yeah. Just
build a glass dome around it.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm imagining, obviously the famous Springfield tyre fire. So what we do is we set fire to all of Birmingham.
Simpsons you're talking about?
Yeah. So we get all the haunted dolls, we chuck them onto the ruins of Birmingham, and we set it alight.
So Birmingham effectively becomes this sort of no-go area like Chernobyl.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it really turns into the Black Country.
Right.
just just smouldering cinders everywhere. It would be
okay. Well, I wasn't
image.
expecting that this to go off into this direction on this podcast, Rob. But nevertheless, let's return to the story. I can't even remember what it was about. As you told me.
Oh, I haven't said yet. No, we just
right. We went off on a tangent. Talking, right. Okay.
Just to say that this is all satire, and the city of Birmingham is fine.
I've never been to Birmingham. Have you? I've driven through it, but
I've been in a few occasions. Yeah, I've never stayed there. Oh no, I have stayed on it. It's okay.
Right.
It's one of those places like, yeah, the shopping's not bad, but you wouldn't live there.
Okay. Well, anybody who's listening from Birmingham, these are Rob's opinions, and feel free to challenge him. Either verbally or using force.
No, the city of Birmingham is
again, Rob, just leave it. Can you get on with this bloody story?
Fine, yeah, okay, right. So this is from the 9th of July. I could have gone
to Japan by this time, picked up the paper and found it myself.
Yeah, fine. So it's submitted by Jack, as always, from the 9th of July 2019.
But Jack is no longer in that region of the world. He is now, you believe, in Europe.
I believe so, yes. Yeah,
he really is a man of mystery. And also, Jack, do you not have to work? How can you just travel for years?
Alex, he is working out there.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he? What does he do? I think he might be Secret Service.
He could be, actually. That's a very good point.
Okay, there you go. Jack's a spy. Jack, tell us what you do. Let's see if I got it right. He wouldn't tell us, of course.
No, that's it. So if he denies that he's a spy, then he's definitely a spy.
Yeah.
Okay, so headline: suspected serial pooper patrolling Akibara. I think that's how you pronounce it.
So somebody's taking a lot of dumps.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Right.
On Tuesday, the Fuji TV programme Tokunde, with an exclamation mark, reported on a person dubbed Ukaman, or Mr. Poop, who is taking aim at the Akabaya district with his bowel movements. Kosoku Nakajima, the owner of a model train store, says that the male perpetrator...
Rob, do you not want to say anything about that? I mean, that sounds like your heaven.
Absolutely, Alex. I mean, you've already mentioned on this podcast that you'd like to be the proprietor of a newsagent, which, it doesn't get much dull on that, but to be the owner of a model train store, surely that's the
Rob,
that's the pinnacle.
Stop a second, right? I don't understand why you're being disparaging of the profession of newsagenting, and I'm not even joking. Now, let me explain to you why. Fags on tap. Booze on tap. Porn mags on tap. Magazines of interest on tap, whether it be cinema, cars, news, current affairs. Candy bars. Fizzy drinks. Wine, if you've got a licence. Cards, maybe you sell cards. Whenever you need a card, they're just there. You can go through reams of national lottery tickets until you find a winner yourself. Stickers, when kids are collecting stickers, and you can really sort of build relationships with the community. All of those things, Rob. All of those things. And you are the king of your castle.
Sure. I can't actually remember the last time I went into a newsagent.
Nor can I.
No, there we go. And also, they're hideously overpriced for what they are. Just go to a supermarket. Let's get these people out of business.
Can I tell you a story, Rob? Which should I tell it? Yeah, I think I can. It's very exposing. When I was about 12
Alex,
years old...
Can I just... When you say exposing, you don't mean,
Well, no, but when I was about 12 years old, Rob, I picked a newsagent which I'd never been in before, which was a very long way away from my house because I wanted a pornographic magazine.
Shocking.
And obviously I could not buy this at 12 years old or 13 or whatever I was. I remember I just started secondary school. And so I hatched the idea that if I took a magazine off the top shelf and put it inside of a newspaper, then I could just buy the newspaper but leave with the pornographic magazine inside. I mean, it was brilliant. Plan. Unfortunately, I think I hung around in the newsagent too long, sweating, not, feeling fearful of what I was about to do. So by the time I got to the counter, the woman there was very, very suspicious. And no sooner did I put down the newspaper than she opened it up to reveal the copy of Razzle or whatever it was inside. Brilliant. Looked at me, and I can still remember, Rob, the shame that I felt.
So what I love is not only were you trying to buy a jazz mag underage, but also you were technically committing theft.
Yes, and I believe I put it in between the pages of something like I think it was the Daily Sport, so it's really 2 for 1 in that sense.
I remember the first time I ever saw a pornographic magazine. A friend of mine used to go to a Comic-Con convention in Birmingham. And
that Birmingham comes up again. You see the link, listeners.
And for some strange reason, this convention, and I don't know why I've never questioned this, and Ross, if you are listening to this podcast, maybe you can clarify, but they also used to sell second-hand magazines,
porn magazines?
Yeah.
Who the hell would want a second-hand porn magazine?
Well, yours truly.
Well, you bought it, did you?
You could buy, I think for £1, you could buy 5 magazines.
That's good value for money.
Yeah, and as a 16-year-old boy, I could not turn that opportunity up, Alex.
And so I just want to alert listeners to the fact, in case they hadn't noticed, and I'm assuming they hadn't, that Rob's very puritanical views on sex have meant that this experience revolving around Birmingham has obviously scarred him for life and left him now having this bizarre fantasy of wanting to ship everybody out of Birmingham, cover it in a glass dome, chuck haunted dolls into it, and I think you said set the whole thing on fire. Rob, this isn't going to assuage you of your guilt over these pornography magazines. You've got to accept your sexuality. It's fine for you to buy 5 copies of.
Yeah, but at the same time, Alex, I mean that's one hell of a fantasy, and I really do get off on it.
Right. What the hell was this story about a man shitting around Japan?
So, I have to pronounce his name again.
No, don't. Just man. Yes.
Okay. The owner of a model toy store says that the male perpetrator has left excrement in the street of the popular shopping destination in Chiyoda Ward on 10 occasions over the past 3 months.
10?
10. Yeah,
that's a lot.
10.
I mean, this is
4
a protest. It's a dirty protest.
Again, do we think is it against model railways in particular, do you think? Because obviously it seems to be... Is he targeting the model railway shop? That's the question.
And if so, why?
Yes. Yeah. Form confirmed locations include a gap between 2 buildings, one housed the model railway store on its first floor, outside a restaurant, and at the entrance of another building at the base of a utility pole. All 4 spots are just east of the Chudori Street. Now, photographs presented by the programme, or shot since June 30th, led the programme to conclude the incidents are the work of the same person.
Well, yeah, that would spring to mind.
No, Alex, how do they know it's the work of the same person?
Well, it's likely to be coincidentally, why would you have lots of people doing it? Why would somebody copy that crime? But also things like shape, texture, colour of the shit. Maybe they've done DNA analysis.
But that's what I'm concerned about. Do you think there is some poor fucker sitting with, these pictures, these photographs of 10 different
like
human
in the movies,
fecal matter?
Like in the movies where you've got the detective in the office with the what's those boards called?
The pinboard.
Corkboard, right? And they got the pictures up and they're trying to link the things together. Yeah. So this person's got 10 pictures of turds up.
I like to think that he's been sitting there for hours, like I said, in just a map of Tokyo on the wall with all these pinned pictures of shit on the wall. I thought it was Fuji. Oh, where is it? Sorry.
Is Fuji a region in Tokyo?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, no,
yeah, a map of Tokyo on the wall. Whoever's doing this, Rob, is a serial turder.
Well, this is it. This has been featured on the TV show Tokunde, which is a Fiji TV program. But I like the idea that poor chap who's obviously been trying to link these serial shits just goes home and just cries himself to sleep because he realizes his job is worthless. Anyway, in one sequence, the purported pooper is seen fleeing from the gap between the above-mentioned buildings with his underwear exposed around his black pants. Believed to be in his 30s, he is carrying a blue backpack. And then the store owner has resorted to posting a warning sign about the incidents at his store. According to lawyer Hido Yamada, it might be difficult for police to accuse the perpetrator of a crime. For one, the locations are on private land. Further, since the areas are frequented by pedestrians, the crime of trespassing may not be applicable. However, the lawyer added that if it is proven that the perpetrator is a repeated offender, it is possible for him to be accused of disrupting a business. So he's saying that even if this TV program does manage to link the perpetrator to these incidents of public defecation, it's difficult to see how or to indicate whether it's caused the shops in question to lose any trade.
I think it's Jack. And I think he is just going around the world shitting wherever he goes.
I mean, it would be a strange obsession. Do you think it's him in his bedroom? He just has all these different shits just outside, like, landmarks of the world.
Yeah, that's what I think. It wasn't ever a sex tour, Rob. It was a shit tour.
I mean, again, whatever gets him off.
Okay, Rob. This is from Rob. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a local news version of this story. But this is from the Traitorous Guardian, Rob, and I really hope that you didn't see it. It's by Simon Murphy. It's from the 27th of July, Rob, so like this man's turds that you were just talking about, this is fresh.
Lovely.
Passenger in clown suit prompted mass cruise ship brawl, say witnesses.
Now, I heard about the fight on the cruise ship. I didn't know they were dressed as a clown.
Yeah, right. It's the detail which makes this story good. A holidaymaker dressed as a clown prompted a mass brawl on a cruise ship in which passengers used furniture and plates as weapons, according to witnesses. The late-night fight in the buffet area on board P&O's Britannia left a member of staff injured as they tried to intervene while onlookers fled in fear. Can I just say, Rob, that this cruise ship, this P&O cruise ship, is called the Britannia, i.e. Britain. So let's just think of it as a metaphor for what's going on in this country at the moment. And what we hear is a late night fight in a buffet.
Perfect. It's just perfect. It epitomises the state of the country
as we sail around international waters.
Can I just say, I missed the quote, but I think it was a late night brawl in the buffet area. Again, a beautiful episode title.
It really is. It reminds me of a punch up at a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
The brawl, which took place in the early hours of Friday morning during the return leg of a week-long cruise to Norway's fjords, reportedly... I just like the return leg of a week-long cruise to Norway's fjords as an episode.
Very strong as
well. There
are
so many this week. Reportedly followed an alcohol-fueled afternoon... Sorry, here's the episode title, surely. An alcohol-fueled afternoon of patriotic partying on deck.
Oh my God.
Patriotic is in quotes. Are we sure this wasn't the Brexit Party's annual getaway?
Is it possible this is not Boris Johnson's celebration party? This is the Tory faithful on there. They've just been going around the European coastline, just shouting abuse and hurling beer cans. Locals.
I'm ashamed, Rob. I'm ashamed at the moment. Anyway, the perpetrators were said to have been confined to their cabins for the last day of the cruise. Can you do that? It's like the teacher comes out and says, "Right, you're all grounded."
Absolutely, yeah. I'm assuming there must be security on ships like that.
I love the idea that P&O security are like really heavy-handed.
Yeah. Yeah, they just start pulling out weapons, just knuckle dusters, just slide them on their hands and just...
No, like they're proper armed, like flamethrowers, rocket launchers.
Oh, like tasers,
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, and just without any provocation, they just take you to the ground.
Yeah, I think you'd have to working in that environment. Yet, whenever I see those adverts with Rob Brydon, who is very willing and prone to doing a lot of adverts, they make those cruises look very... seductive to me.
Yeah, but the trouble is with those adverts...
I don't think it's an accurate reflection of what it's actually like.
I mean, I can imagine they are very luxurious. From what I believe, they are floating hotels.
Would you go on a cruise ship?
Well, I technically have been on a cruise.
Right.
Although it was converted ferry, but that's a story for another day. But what whenever I see him do those adverts, I can never quite work out if he's trying to be sincere, because it always comes across as slightly sarcastic.
I think that's just him, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I never understand. Look, I do like Rob Brydon, and obviously he was in things like Gavin and Stacey and everything. What I don't ever really understand about Rob Brydon is Marion and Jeff was so brilliant that I just feel he never really then capitalized on that in terms of like continuing to make things of high artistic merit. You know, to me, it's a bit like, you know, Stanley Kubrick makes 2001 and then goes on to make Nutty Professor 2: The Clumps. It seems to be a drop off in quality.
Yeah, he does a lot of
he's
an extremely talented man. But I mean, to do that, I mean, I know he didn't write Gavin Stacey, he just appeared in it. But it's just, I can't stand that program. But maybe that's also because it's got Matt Horn and James Corden.
Yeah, same here. Can I just say though, Rob, after Marion and Jeff, why the hell did anybody think it was a good idea for him to do like a chat show with him as the character from Marion and Jeff, his character? I mean, Marion and Jeff is an exceptional show if nobody's ever seen it. It's very, very dark.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of it was filmed right round here near where I live, Rob, West Dulwich. That second series is him driving around there. But anyway, again, Rob,
he does an interview with Richard Herring talking about the filming of Marion and Jeff, and it is just extraordinary that it ever got commissioned. I would urge listeners to dig it out, because it's just he just decided he wasn't getting work, so just decided to do this piece to camera in his car with a video camera, and then literally started posting out the tapes, and that was it.
Well, and Rob Brydon, if you listen to this podcast, you know, I think there's wasted potential. That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
To the hugely successful Rob Brydon.
Well, no, I don't think he is. I think he is in superficial terms, but artistic terms, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm sorry, Rob Brydon. A 41-year-old woman and a 43-year-old man from Essex were arrested, Rob, by Hampshire police on suspicion of assault when the ship docked in Southampton on Saturday morning. And I do want to say to you and the listeners, don't worry, the detail is coming.
Oh, God, were they from Essex? That's depressing. I mean, but depressing.
Inevitable, Rob. 6 people, including 3 women, were assaulted during the fight, resulting in a series of injuries, including significant bruising and cuts, the force says. One of those injured was a staff member. Richard Gaysford of ITV's Good Morning Britain, who was on the cruise, said he was alerted to the incident when a 2 a.m. emergency tannoy announcement called for security to rush to the 16th floor restaurant, presumably, Rob, as you say, with tasers. Gaysford tweeted on Saturday, "There was blood everywhere. Violent late-night brawl in the buffet on board P&O Cruises. Britannia left staff who intervened injured as passengers used furniture and plates as weapons. Witnesses told me they were so frightened they had to hide as family groups fought." That was his tweet. So do you want to know what happened, Rob?
Of course I do, Alex.
He said that after hearing the tannoy, he went to the restaurant where he found shocked passengers. And he says, one witness, part of a group involved in the trouble, explained to staff that things kicked off. Rob, I really want you to listen to this sentence. Things kicked off when another passenger appeared dressed as a clown. This upset one of their party because they specifically booked a cruise with no fancy dress.
I don't know what to say.
This led to a violent confrontation. So can you imagine?
Hang on. How can you get that apoplectic at the fact that someone's in fancy dress?
I have booked a cruise, Rob, that specifically stipulates no fancy dress. I go to the buffet and there's a man there dressed as a clown. This quickly turns violent.
But for all we know, he was a children's entertainer. And
or a pervert.
Or a pervert. Yeah. Or serial killer. Who knows?
He added, Britannia left... Is it Bergen?
Bergen. Yeah, I think it's Bergen. Yeah.
At 14:30 on Thursday. The violence occurred 12 hours later after a black tie evening. It followed an afternoon of, in quotes, patriotic partying on deck, with large amounts of alcohol being consumed by many guests. Can I ask you, Rob, what makes patriotic partying different than regular partying? I'm genuinely interested in your ideas. How do you party patriotically? Do you just slag off foreigners? Is that what it means?
Yeah, you just sort of toss around casual stereotypes. No, let's be honest. It'll be things like they'll be singing land of hope and glory, Jerusalem, while sitting around their deck chairs with their hankies and knots on their fucking head in their string vests, flying little George crosses. Why don't you just all fuck off?
What has happened to this country?
It's going down the shitter, Alex. Rapidly, increasingly so.
The buffet area was immediately sealed off as medical teams went to help the injured. Staff told me they'd never experienced anything like it, and those behind the violence were confined to a cabin for the last day of the cruise, waiting for police here in Southampton. I remind you, this started just because somebody there was dressed as a clown. Hampshire police said officers are investigating following reports of a public order incident aboard P&O's Britannia. I guess maybe P&O does stand for public order, Rob. I don't know. The incident happened.
It does now.
What does it stand for again?
I've no idea.
Okay. Isn't it a French company, P&O?
I don't know. It might. I think you might be right. Actually, I have a feeling it is. You keep reading. I'll Google it.
The incident happened during the early hours of blah, blah, blah. 6 people, 3 men and 3 women were assaulted. Investigations are ongoing. People are in custody. So yeah, that's just astonishing, and it's a classic. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. Now, what I would say as well is I always tend to have Facebook open just in case, and I realised that Steve has actually submitted the local version of this story. I think it covers all the main points though, so I don't think there's anything we need to worry about.
Who was the local paper that covered it?
It was the Southern Daily Echo.
The Southern Daily Echo.
Whichever, I'm not sure what area that is. P&O Cruises is a British cruise liner. Main article. Oh, there we are. Main article. And it stands for the Peninsula and Oriental Steam Navigation Company. So there you go.
And I am just checking now, Rob, the story in the Southern Daily Echo, because I'm intrigued to see. Yeah, actually, the story is not as long, but mainly to see, are there any comments?
There's a lot of deleted comments. Just looking through.
Oh, are there? I've got 6 comments here. World Cup Willie 66 says the clown that dressed up as one should face an all-time ban. What the hell was he thinking? And I believe that must be sarcastic. Paul James says he wasn't at the black tie event. You need to read social media for the real story. The Sun version of it is over-sensationalised and regional papers have quoted from it.
Can I just say, Alex, there's a comment from Pizza the Barrow. It says, just chuck everyone involved overboard and let them fight in the sea. Last one to drown wins.
Interestingly, you've got different comments than I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then the leaky cauldron follows that comment with one problem puts even more shit in the ocean.
Very good point.
Love it.
Okay, Rob, you got a story for us, and this is really just to finish us off like the end of a nice massage. What's the story? Who's it from?
So this week, the story is from... it's not a listener story, so this story is from Kyber. He actually sent in the local news story, although I've actually decided to take the story from the Traitorous Guardian, because I think the content is slightly better.
Okay. We've got to crack on, Rob, because we're pushed for time.
All right, Alex. So it's the 16th of July, and the story is by Charles Anderson, and the headline, Something Fishy. Penguins detained by New Zealand police after sushi shop stakeout.
Can I say that is a brilliant headline, and I had been waiting, because you did promise me last week that this week there'd be a story about a penguin.
Yep. So, waddling vagrants in the form of 2 light blue penguins have been released by police after they were detained for setting up home under a Wellington sushi outlet. Their cover was blown after a shop worker heard them making a cooing humming sound. It is understood that the penguins were hiding near the grills beneath the sushi shop where it was warm.
Sorry, where is this?
New Zealand.
Sorry, so I didn't know penguins lived in New Zealand, number 1. But number 2, I thought they lived in cold climates.
Well, I think the weather in New Zealand is quite temperate, especially you have to think how far down it is as well. I mean, I guess in New Zealand,
you're right. So these penguins decided they didn't want to live where they were living anymore, and sort of squatters went and set up their own.
Before they were detained by police, yeah.
This sounds... what do you mean they've been detained by police? You can't charge a penguin.
It's trespassing. Anyway, Constable John Zhu responded.
John Zhu? Right, okay, this story's made up.
No, it's not.
Are you sure this isn't the one from that fake newspaper?
Well, it might be, but it's in the Guardian, so...
okay.
Constable John Zhu responded after sensing something fishy. Wellington confirmed on their Facebook page. The penguins were described as light and blue. This was not the first police report received about the fishy birds. They were spotted on Monday at Wellington at dawn outside the Wellington railway station before taking shelter under the nearby Sushi Bai, which is the sushi shop. The Department of Conservation has been monitoring the site as it was thought they were likely to return. The department says the birds were quite common in Wellington Harbour, which is about home to nearly 600 pairs of penguins. However, this is the first time. Yeah. However, this is the first time the agency has heard of them setting up home in the station. It warns that people should keep their distance from the penguins, which can bite. Winnie Morris, who works at the sushi shop, told...
Peck, surely, like peck and snap. They don't have teeth,
bite.
Do they?
No, but I can imagine you might get a nasty peck from their bill.
I'd like to fight a penguin. Do you remember when we had that long conversation about penguin bars? What do penguins think of penguin bars?
Do you know what I had? What's it called? Oh, it's an Australian. Oh fuck! I can't remember what it's called now. It's an Australian chocolate bar, which is like a penguin but nicer. Anyway.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're fucking me off.
Tim Tam.
Yes, Tim Tam.
Yeah, really nice. I had one the other day. Anyway. So Winnie Morris, who works at the sushi shop, told Radio NZ that she heard the birds making a cooing, humming sound. It's pretty insane that the idea that some penguins are camping out underneath your shop, but it's adorable, I think. They're pretty terrified, but it's adorable. It's nice to know. The little blue penguin's conservation status is considered to be at risk to declining. I think there's nothing else you really need to worry about that. Just to say, obviously, the penguins have been recovered and are safe and well, although it doesn't say whether they've been fed any sushi.
Can I say, Rob, very efficient. That is a great story. And Rob, on that bombshell, we do have to bring this episode of Local Anaesthetic to a close, Rob. And, of course, we look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet trepidation, to our next episode, which will be episode 283, Rob. As we move ever more forward, Rob, like a man, left alone for the day in his home, deciding to engage in a sex game with a chihuahua that goes horribly wrong. Having no choice but to flush the said chihuahua down the toilet after it unfortunately perishes during this sex game. When his partner returns home, he has to claim that a mysterious seagull swooped down from the sky and took the chihuahua far away. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be episode 283. What did you say?
That's so grim, Alex.
It really is grim, isn't it? Yeah. Well, a lot of it came from your mind as well, I think you'll find.
Yeah,
well, maybe 30% of it, but I mean, you've got to take responsibility for that, Rob. You're on here, so you're complicit. Rob, look, everybody knows where to find us. We're on lapodcast.net. There's a donate button if you want to donate to us. If you choose to, you can download the podcast. So many places, Spotify, your podcast apps. I think we're even on YouTube, etc., etc., etc. Leave us a review, subscribe. You all know what to do. If you want to contact us, send us a story, lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Rob, we are fast pushed for time. Everybody always asks us, I know your podcast is called Local Anaesthetic, in short, LA Podcast. How do you spell anaesthetic? Because the English spelling of it, not so much the American, but the English spelling is complicated. So, Rob, we like to spell it out phonetically. Do we have a theme?
Yes, I've just thought of one. Makes of car.
Really? We're going. Okay. Aston Martin.
Nissan.
Alfa Romeo.
E. Is there?
There must be.
There probably is. E. Fuck's sake. You. Escort.
Do you know what you can escort? I mean, it isn't a makeup car, but it is a.
It's a model.
Hang on a minute.
E. There must be an E.
Well, apparently, in 1957, there was a brand called Elfin. So I'll help you out there.
That'll do.
Hang on. S. Oh no, Seat.
Oh, yeah, okay. Toyota.
H. What the fuck?
There is an H. I can think of an H.
Can you?
Yeah.
Hyundai.
Honda.
Honda.
E. Well, we've established there is no E's. So,
yeah, there is. There is a Emerald. They made a series of cars, Rob, in the 70s. Me and my family had one. We had great times in the Emerald 500.
Okay.
My turn. T. Oh, Tesla.
Not very nice. I don't know how to pronounce it. Izu. IZUSU. Izu. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Very good, Rob. And C. Am I missing something obvious here? C.
Probably. Cadillac.
Very good, Rob.
Chrysler.
You're not meant to answer for me. But thank
Chevrolet.
You.
There's 3 there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. You don't have to make me feel bad. So that if you manage to sit through that and manage to write down all the letters, it's how you spell anaesthetic. I do like the fact, Rob, we've resurrected this from, I think it was our first year of recording the podcast. Can I just say that I remember us being really slick at doing this when we used to. I could be completely wrong, but I think
that's the Mandela effect, Alex. I don't think that is the case.
When you say the Mandela effect, what do you mean by that?
It's that false belief that something happened, or there this belief that because the Mandela effect came about because people
why does that
believe
relate
that
to
he was
Nelson
dead.
Mandela?
Because apparently there's this mass delusion that Nelson Mandela died years before he did, and it became into the national conscience where it never actually happened.
Well, just to clarify, though, Nelson Mandela is dead.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And we happily make that public service announcement. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in a week's time. God bless.
And keep it local.